In the city that never sleeps, Seoul, where every night gleamed with neon promises and every morning echoed with ambition, lived a man who had everything money could buy. Kang Jae-min, heir to the Kang Group empire, was the kind of man who made headlines simply by walking into a room. Handsome beyond reason, impeccably dressed, his dark hair styled with casual perfection, and his smile that wicked curl that had ruined hearts across the city. To the world, he was the ideal son of wealth. To women, he was the epitome of desire. And to himself, he was untouchable. He didn't believe in love. Not after seeing his parents' marriage crumble into public scandal, where affection was traded for business alliances and betrayal was paid for with silence. To him, love was an illusion. He enjoyed women, yes. He enjoyed the chase, the luxury, the power of being wanted. But he never let them close enough to hurt him. People love what you can give them, not who you are, he once told a friend over a glass of whiskey, the neon city lights reflecting off his detached smile. And for years he believed it. Across the city, in a small, dimly lit apartment near Hongdae, lived Han Sua. She stared at her reflection in the cracked mirror. Her makeup was subtle tonight, beautiful but weary. Behind her stood a worn backpack filled with the only things that truly mattered. A few bills, a picture of her late parents, and a school form for her little brother, Min-jun, only 7 years old. To people, she was a dancer in one of Seoul's elite clubs, a place where the rich came to escape their loneliness behind champagne and dim lights. To herself, she was a sister, a protector, a survivor. The world had taken too much from her. Her parents, her childhood, her faith in people, but not her strength. Every night she danced not for pleasure, not for applause, but for a future that wasn't hers, a future for her brother. Their worlds collided on a humid Thursday night, a collision born of arrogance and pride. It happened in front of Club Lush, one of the most exclusive clubs in Gangnam. Jae-man was stepping out of his car when a commotion caught his attention. A young woman arguing with a security guard. She stood tall despite her petite frame, her chin lifted, eyes fierce. "I told you, I work here," she snapped in frustration. "And I told you, no entry from the front for staff," the guard replied gruffly. Jae-man, annoyed at the noise, intervened. "What's going on?" The guard straightened immediately. "Mr. Kang, she works here." Sua turned to face him, and for a moment their eyes met. Hers were sharp, brown with hints of gold that glowed under the streetlight. His were cold, detached, but curious. "Then let her through," he said carelessly. "I don't want drama outside." But Sua mistook his tone for mockery. "Oh, how generous of you, Mr. Kang, but I don't remember asking for your help." Her words caught him off guard. People didn't talk to him like that. "Are you talking to me?" he asked. "No, to your shadow," she retorted. And with that, she walked past him, head high, leaving him momentarily speechless and oddly intrigued. He didn't know her name, but he remembered her eyes. A few nights later, curiosity led Jae-man to that same club, Club Lush, when Sua appeared on stage. Dressed in a black outfit that hugged her curves, the crowd roared. She moved with grace, not vulgarity. Yet behind her sensual performance there was an unmistakable sadness, a quiet pain that only someone watching closely could see. Jae-man froze. Her? He felt his ego sting. The woman who had talked down on him turned out to be just another entertainer. When she finished her performance, he waved the manager over. "I want a private dance." "Her?" The manager hesitated, glancing toward Sua backstage. "She doesn't usually do privates, sir." "Then tell her she will tonight," Jae-man said coldly. "Name your price." Minutes later, Sua was told she had to perform privately for Kang Jae-min. She refused at first, anger blazing in her chest. But the manager's threat was sharper than pride. If you don't, you're done here. Think of your brother. Her heart sank, so she entered the private lounge, trembling but composed. He sat waiting, drink in hand, his gaze challenging. I didn't know the fierce woman from the other day was just a dancer, he said mockingly. Quite the performance both on and off stage. Her hands shook as the music began. She moved mechanically, her body obeying, her spirit rebelling. He threw a few bills at her feet, his smirk unrelenting, until he saw it, a tear. One single tear slipped down her cheek. Something inside him cracked. The arrogance faded, replaced by something unfamiliar, guilt, empathy. He didn't know. He abruptly stood up. Enough, I'm done. He left without a word. That night, while driving home through the quiet streets of Seoul, the image of that tear haunted him. He'd seen countless women cry before, tears of manipulation, of drama, but hers, it was different. It wasn't weakness. It was strength breaking quietly, and he couldn't understand why it hurt to remember. Days passed. They went back to their lives as if nothing happened. Until one night, Sua was walking home past midnight. The streets were nearly empty when 3 men stepped out of the shadows, drunk, smirking. Pretty girl, where are you going? One of them slurred. She tried to walk past, but they blocked her path. Panic clawed at her throat. And then, headlights. A black Bentley screeched to a halt nearby. The driver's door opened. It was Jae-min. He had been driving past, lost in thought when he saw her struggling. He didn't hesitate. Within seconds he was there, his coat whipping in the wind as he shoved one of the men aside. His voice was low, dangerous. Touch her, and I'll destroy you. The thugs scattered after one look at his face. The face of a man they recognized from news headlines. He turned to her, breathing hard. Are you okay? He said, softer this time. Sua's eyes glistened. I didn't ask for your help, her voice shaken. Aren't you supposed to say thank you? He replied. They stood there, silent under the flickering street light. Let me take you home, he said finally. She hesitated, then nodded. He drove her in silence. Seoul shimmered outside the window. Endless towers, endless lights. When he dropped her off at her small apartment, he noticed the building's cracks, the worn-out sign, the absence of comfort. It unsettled him. You shouldn't walk home this late, he said quietly. I don't have a choice, she replied. Some of us have to work for what we want. He almost smiled. And some of us don't appreciate what we have, he said. Their eyes met. Something unspoken passed between them. Not attraction, not yet, but understanding. Thank you, she whispered before walking away. Days turned into weeks. He began to notice her everywhere, not in person, but in thought. During meetings, while dining with models, while staring out of his office window. Her tear, her defiance, her voice haunted him. He started visiting Club Lush again, but never for the same reason. He sat quietly in the corner, watching her dance, not as entertainment, but as art. Her movements told stories of pain and hope, and he was captivated. Sua noticed him too. He never called her, never demanded, never mocked again. He simply watched, and somehow that silent presence comforted her. Then one night she found him waiting outside after her shift. You don't have to keep doing this, he said. You're better than this place. And do what instead? She asked bitterly. Be your charity project? No, he said softly. Be someone who believes she deserves more. She stared at him, confused by his sincerity. It didn't sound like pity. It sounded like truth. He helped in silence, paying her brother's tuition, sending groceries, arranging safer rides. When she found out, anger burned through humiliation. She stormed his office. You think money fixes everything? No, he admitted. but it's all I've ever known to give. Then learn something else, she said, walking away. After the confrontation, she avoided him for days. Sua ignored his messages and turned away whenever his car waited near the club. Pride burned hotter than gratitude, and she told herself she'd never forgive him for interfering in her life. But the city has a way of tying people back together. One night on her way home, she saw him again. He stood outside the convenience store by her street, holding a steaming paper cup of coffee. When their eyes met, he simply offered her the cup with a smile. She hesitated, then smiled and took it. "I didn't mean to offend you. I just didn't know another way to help." His voice wasn't arrogant anymore. It was quiet, careful, like he was afraid of breaking something fragile. Sue looked at him. "You can't buy kindness, Jamin. I know," he said. "That's why I'm here instead." And that was the beginning of something beautiful. Their meetings stretched longer. They knew the world wouldn't understand their relationship, but they didn't care. He took her to places she'd only seen in magazines. Private gardens, moonlit rooftops overlooking the Han River. But her favorite moments weren't the expensive dinners or the gifts. It was when he looked at her not as a possession, but as peace. "You make me feel human," he confessed one night, his voice trembling. "And you make me feel seen," she whispered. He kissed her then, not out of lust, but out of awe. It was a kiss that broke walls, not promises. But every love story has its trial. When the media found out about their relationship, the scandal exploded. "Kang Air dating nightclub dancer," screamed the tabloids. His father was furious. "You're destroying our reputation for a woman who dances for money," his father spat. "She dances for survival," Jamin replied calmly. The confrontation tore them apart. He lost business deals, friends, status, but he didn't care, because he was fighting for the woman he was hopelessly in love with. Meanwhile, Sua felt guilty as she cried. "You're losing everything because of me." "No," he whispered, holding her close. "I'm finding everything because of you." The storm baptized them into something unbreakable. Months passed. Jamin rebuilt his empire on his terms. He launched a foundation supporting single mothers and underprivileged children in memory of Sua's late mother. She, in turn, left the club and opened a small dance academy for girls who dreamed bigger than their circumstances. Her brother, Min Jun, got into one of Seoul's top schools. Jamin had one last thing he needed to do to make his world complete. The rain had passed, the air was new again. On the rooftop where they had first kissed, Kang Jamin waited, nervous for the first time in his life. He'd faced boardrooms, scandals, and storms, but never something that mattered this much. Sua stepped out of the elevator, the wind tugging gently at her hair. Her smile was soft, the kind that always disarmed him. He took her hands, his voice trembling slightly. "When I met you, I didn't believe in love. You changed that. You made me want to be better, not richer, not stronger, just kinder." He knelt, pulling out a simple silver ring that glimmered in the sunlight. "Sua, I don't need grand speeches or crowds. I just need you every morning, every quiet night. Will you marry me?" For a heartbeat, she said nothing. Then tears spilled down her cheeks. Tears of joy this time. She nodded, laughing softly through them. "Yes, yes, Jamin." He slid the ring onto her finger. The city glowed around them as cherry blossom petals drifted in the breeze. He whispered, "I was empty until I met you." She smiled. "And I was afraid until I met you." They embraced as the sun dipped low over Seoul, two souls finally finding home. Years passed, and the seasons carried them gently forward. Sua and Jamin were blessed with a son, a bright-eyed boy who carried his mother's laughter and his father's quiet strength. Sua's life had blossomed. Her name had become a melody across Seoul. Her dance studio now a place where dreams learned to move. Jae-min had built his own world too. Not his father's empire, but a company born from his own hands. Clean, honest, and peaceful. Yet, beneath that success, something lingered, a quiet ache. The distance between him and his father. And then, one quiet morning, the phone rang. After years of silence, his father's voice filled the line. Time had softened, tremor where there once was steel. He wanted to meet his grandson. He wanted to make peace. For a long moment, Jae-min said nothing. Then he smiled faintly. The kind of smile that carried forgiveness more than words ever could. The gates of the Kang estate opened once more. Not for business, not for pride, but for family. Sua and Jae-min walked hand in hand with their son. At the top of the marble steps stood Mr. Kang. Older, smaller, and trembling. The boy paused, tilting his head. "Grandfather?" The old man knelt, tears filling his eyes. "Yes, my grandson." Years of silence broke. Pride dissolved into laughter and tears. It was a happy and emotional reunion. Under the same soul sky where arrogance once ruled and loneliness lived, warmth now lingered. The billionaire who once scorned love learned it could heal. The dancer who once feared trust learned it could last. And in that small garden filled with light, they proved that sometimes the richest people are the ones who have finally learned how to love. Thank you for watching and supporting this channel. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Your support means everything to me. Love always from Love and Vengeance Series Studio.